Hi there. In this episode, synth lore, the Akai AX80. I have a new format for this episode. It's a little longer because I go into a lot more detail. I'll give you a tiny bit of history of my ownership. I'll show you all the features, then I'll demo all the preset sounds and a few of my own. There is no quiz for this episode. I purchased an Akai AX80 brand new in 1985. Sold it circa 1996 after I purchased an Alesis QS8. I had instant regret, so I repurchased another one circa 2012. I used the AX80 as my primary keyboard along with a Juno 106 and an SH101 in the bands I played in back in the 80s. I have a top 11 episode called Older Bargain Keyboards. On that list, the Akai came in at number 11. Some people thanked me for including the Akai. A couple of others thought I had lost my mind. They commented that the Akai AX80 is not inexpensive. To be fair to me, the title was Older Bargain Keyboards, not inexpensive keyboards. I included the Akai for good reason. I think it's a bargain. The Akai has 2 oscillators and a sub. That puts it in Jupiter 6 voice specification territory. It has 8 voices, not 6, and that along with its voice architecture puts it in Jupiter 8 voice specification territory. Now to be clear, I'm talking about voice architecture, not features or sound, and ultimately sound is the most important thing. The key is adding effects to the Akai. The X80 can sound underwhelming when you hear it for the first time without effects. I've always said that at least 30% of the Juno 106 sound is the chorus, and adding a chorus sound is how you get the AX80 to come alive. Other folks have echoed that fact in some of their comments on other episodes. It's a shame that Akai didn't include a chorus on the AX80. Regardless, with its specifications and its sound, I still think it's a bargain. 5 years from now, when it's twice its current price, people will be lamenting the fact that they didn't buy one in 2024. To be clear, 1,500 euros or $1,500, and they're pretty close these days, is a lot of money. You have to decide if it's worth it for you. Currently, you can get them close to or just under $1,000 in the US. Time to look at a summary of the features. Then I'll demo most of the parameters one at a time so you can see how the synth works. And finally, I'll do some demos. First, the physical attributes on the front. 61 note velocity sensitive keyboard. I believe it's a good feeling keyboard for an unweighted synth. There are 4 knobs: output level, tune, modulation range, and pitch bend range. The last 2 are associated with the modulation and pitch bend wheels. There are 46 membrane switches, and I like how they feel. Some membrane switches don't go down very much when you press them. For example, the Atari 400 computer from the 80s had a membrane keyboard, and I never really liked the feel of that keyboard, but these are pretty good. 32 of these membrane switches are for patch and parameter selection. The others include, in a first group, an edit control up and down. These are actually labeled together, but they're 2 separate buttons. There's also a transpose button, mod wheel oscillator control on-off, mod wheel VCF control on-off, and a MIDI channel selector. The unit will transmit and receive on different MIDI channels, but there's no local off. In a second group of buttons, you get a tape button, a write button, chord memory button, hold, an edit button, and 3 more buttons for selecting banks A, B, or the preset bank. You get 64 user patches and 32 preset patches. On the back panel, you get a mono audio output, headphone jack, sustain pedal input, and a patch selection pedal input. And that will cycle through 32 patches in whatever bank you're in. There is tape in and out to save your patches on 1/4-inch connectors along with a 2-position memory switch. Lastly, you get MIDI in, out, and through on standard 5-pin DIN connectors, a power switch, and a permanently attached power cord. You probably noticed from the pictures that the back panel is angled, and it's actually very helpful when connecting cables. The case is all metal construction except for the end caps and the performance controls area, which are plastic. On the first unit I owned, the ends were glossy black plastic. On the one I currently own, they're covered with a black textured plastic sheet, similar to the finish on some guitar amps. Internally, you get 8 voices, 2 oscillators per voice, plus a sub-oscillator. The sub is either on or off, and it's linked to oscillator 1, meaning that if you were to modulate it with an LFO, not only would oscillator 1 be modulated, so would the sub. Oscillator shapes include pulse, sawtooth, or mix, pulse wave duty cycle, and pulse wave speed parameters. Oscillator 2 can be detuned, cross-modded, and there's 2 types of cross-mod. It can also be set to a range from 16 feet to 2 feet in chromatic steps. This is really cool, and it allows you to create classic perfect fifths between oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, or tritones, which I really like for ascending and descending. Kind of a little bit cliche for falling and rising objects in movies, but everybody still uses it, and if you do it with a little bit of pizzazz, you can make it work. The filter section has frequency cutoff, resonance, envelope depth, key follow, key velocity, and a high pass filter. The LFO section has 3 LFOs that are assigned to oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and the VCF respectively. Each oscillator allows control of depth, speed, delay, and waveform. And you actually get a generous selection of waveforms. Waveforms for the LFOs include square, sawtooth, reverse saw, and triangle. For the envelope, you get standard A, D, S, and R. You also get to choose whether that is assigned to the VCF, the VCA, or both. Time for the editing demo on the Akai AX80. I'm going to go into this patch that I created here. Now, if this was my Korg Poly 800, I would have to type in a parameter, and then for that parameter, I'd have to give it a value. And it's a very long, tedious process. Here you're going to see that this is a good halfway medium between having a button and a function for everything and having it the way the Akai AX80 is set up. And I'm going to demo that right now. Let's click the edit button. Here we have a sound. So I already have the filter set up, the LFO is not active, and I have the envelope set up. All you're hearing right now is oscillator 1. So let's go into oscillator 1 and see what we can do. The first thing we can do is we can affect the level. The level of each oscillator, oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, is independently variable. The sub is not. It's either on or off. Okay. Let's take a look at the range switch over here. Let's put it down at the bottom. So here it's at 16 feet. There's 8. There's 4. We'll leave it at 8 for this demo. Next we have our waveform. We can have it off so we don't hear it. Obviously we could just put the volume all the way down, but this is a little quicker. First choice is sawtooth. Our next choice is pulse wave. I got the filter fairly open, so it sounds pretty buzzy in either of those. And we can also do a mix. For this demo, I'm going to choose a pulse wave. Let's go to our duty cycle over here. At 50%, it should essentially be a square wave, right? Especially if we turn off the speed. Let's go back and change the wave up a little bit. Put it at about 75%. And then let's slowly bring up the pulse wave speed. That sounds pretty good. We'll go with that for now. Let's hear it with the sub. So that's essentially Juno 106 territory. One oscillator plus a sub. I'm going to turn the sub off for now, and we'll move over to oscillator 2. First of all, we need to bring the volume up. Let's take a look at our pitch over here. And right now we're at 16. And it moves up chromatically. So if we move it up 7 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that should be a perfect fifth. Sounds pretty good. If we want to do descending tritones, put it back at parity. Next up, we have a detune. So we can detune oscillator 2 from oscillator 1. Let's take a look at that. Absolutely, it's just not as sweet as a Roland, but it's not bad. Okie doke. Next we have our waveform, and I'd already set it up so it would be a pulse wave, but here we also have a sawtooth, a pulse wave, and we can mix the two waves if we want to. Next we have cross mod. We can either have it off, which is where it is right now. We can have it on cross mod 1, so let's hear it without it. Let's hear it with it. And then we'll do cross mod 2, which is what I like. But for this particular patch, we won't use it. Next up, we have envelope depth, and that would be parity at 50 for our oscillator. And we can choose the envelope we want to affect here. It can be the VCF or the VCA. And then once again, we already talked about oscillator level 2. Let's move on to the filter. No surprises here. I'm just going to kill our cutoff frequency and our resonance, and we can apply those and hear those. The big disadvantage to the Akai AX80 is you can see I have no cutoff frequency. I have it all the way down, so we're not going to hear anything. But if I put it up while I hold it, we still don't hear anything. We're not going to hear anything until I re-trigger the sound. That's a shame. I believe the Tomtec software upgrade for the OS on the AX80 fixes that. All right, let's engage a little bit of resonance here. That should work for what I'm going to demo here. We have key follow. You probably know what key follow is, so I won't waste your time with that. Key velocity is just how much of the velocity we want to send to the VCF. So we can open up the filter with velocity. You hit it soft, and you won't get a lot of filter value here. And if you hit it hard, it'll open it up, so you can get those wow bass sounds. You also have a high-pass filter. Right now I have it completely turned off, and that's because, you know, a high-pass filter just emasculates your low end. Definitely thins out that low end. So we'll leave that off for now. Next we have, I want to just bring down the, let's try this. I think that'll work. So next we have our LFO. We have one LFO for oscillator 1, one LFO for oscillator 2, and one LFO for the filter. So we can cycle through the 3 LFOs we have. That would be for oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and the VCF. So let's start with oscillator 1. Let's start by turning off oscillator 2 as far as volume is concerned. Now we're only hearing oscillator 1. This will just help us distinguish what we're doing. We'll give it maximum depth, and then we'll give it very little. We'll give it a very slow cycle time so you can really hear it. Sounds like a Cars song. All right, let's turn on oscillator 2 again. We're going to give this one a really fast cycle time, but a very shallow envelope depth. Finally, we can apply some LFO to the filter, and we can sweep our filter really slowly. So I'm going to give it a huge amount of depth and a very slow filter time. Okay, way too much fun. Let's just go ahead and kill these for now. So So we got a more basic sound to listen to. You see, this is a lot easier to zero out than it would be on something that's truly parameter based. So here we have a standard ADSR, and then we also have key follow, which you're probably familiar with. And we have an envelope select because we can apply our envelope in 3 different ways. We can apply it to the VCA, we can apply it to the VCF, and we can apply it to both at the same time. We're just going to go ahead and do it with VCA. Here, we'll go ahead and take out any values for any of our ADSR except for sustain. We essentially have the response of an organ. I want you to see how long this attack time is. It's a long attack time. Let's take a look just at the release time. It's a very long release time. That is an incredibly long release time. All right, let's just make it have the response of an organ again. I just want to show you the hold function here. So if I hold a chord, and I can turn it off. The other thing I can do is say, play a C major chord with an octave on top. Put it in the chord memory. And now when I play one note, it's a good way to have instant fifths. You don't have to split your oscillators this way. You can have them all playing essentially the same note, and you have a fatter sound by using the chord function here. And you don't have to actually, you don't have to play it. It'll play it for you. Let's try those tritones again. Okay, that's it. That's the demo of the editing functions. I think it's a lot easier to edit this. You essentially have a button for almost every parameter. You press that parameter, and the next thing you know, you can adjust it. It's a lot quicker than a lot of other synths that were out in the 80s. Okay, time for the sound demo. I'm going to demo all 32 preset patches that come with the AX80. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. Then I'll demo 5 or 6 that I've created. Nothing special. You could probably do better. I've already stated that I love the AX80. You could probably do better than me on the programming. I create what I need when I need it. I think some of the sounds the AX80 can make are incredibly good for that era. To be fair, the external chorus absolutely helps. In fact, it's probably a necessity. In 2024, you can purchase an AX80 in the US in the range of $1,000 to $1,500, and like I said, sometimes a little bit less. I believe prices will always lag behind the Rolands because of the name and because of the sound. Like everything else, they're going up in price. It's up to you whether you think they're a bargain. Lastly, I'm never trying to talk you into buying anything unless I specifically say so. It's up to you. You need to do your due diligence and decide whether you want to spend your hard-earned cash on anything, including an AX80. Hopefully I haven't wasted your time. Take care, and I'll be back in another episode soon.